Mansi, a passionate activist in her late 20s who is deeply committed to environmental justice. She's energetic and idealistic, but sometimes overly dramatic.
Rhea, her skeptical and slightly cynical best friend in her early 30s, a pragmatist who works a corporate job but has a soft spot for her best friend.
Hello. Rhea, is that a disposable cup?
It's just one cup.
One cup today, a whole trash of mountain tomorrow.
The coffee shop didn't take my reusable mug. What do you want me to do?
Fight the system, protest. Ask them to give you, use your mug. Do you understand how much trash is there all over the world because of this one cup?
I'm guessing you do.
1 billion, that too just in the US. This is not funny, Rhea. Environmental justice is not about just recycling a cup. It's about helping people who suffer from this the most.
But I don't know, I don't think me skipping a cup of coffee is going to help change
It's
the
about
world.
starting somewhere. Tomorrow you're coming with me to protest.
No, please.
No,
please,
we're
please,
going.
no, please,
We're
no,
making
please,
this
no.
signs and
I
we're
don't
going.
want to go. Please, I don't want to
No,
go.
you're coming
This
with
is
me.
not going to change the world.
It will. You will start somewhere at least. Someone has to start somewhere.
Do I really have to?
Yes.
Fine.
What do we want?
Environmental justice.
When do we want?
Give me 1.5 lunch.
Excuse me, why are you here today?
We're here to demand for environmental justice for communities affected by industrial pollution. Everybody deserves clean air, water, and soil.
And why are you here?
I just didn't want to argue with her.
With her?
You need to inspire people.
It's okay. I think you're being a bit dramatic.
Not at all. It's not that.
This factory will create local jobs and boost the economy.
At what cost? Your factory will poison the air and water all around.
Please calm down.
Can you?
Environmental justice is not about jobs, it's about lives.
We'll make sure to comply with all the regulations to provide minimal damage.
Minimal impact. Seriously? Tell that to the people who can't breathe because of your toxic fumes.
Please,
Can you take it down a notch?
This is my notch. This is my moment.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we bring you a special report on environmental justice and the communities that are most affected by pollution.
The Environmental Protection Agency's most recent report shows that over 70% of hazardous waste sites are located within 1 mile of low-income neighborhoods. Advocates argue that this is not a coincidence.
Despite all of these challenges, grassroots movements across the country are fighting back. From protests to policy changes, every day people are making their voices heard in the fight for environmental justice. This battle affects all of us because when one community suffers, the ripple effects are felt for everyone. Good evening. Tonight we shine a spotlight on an issue that not only affects the health of our planet, but also the well-being of the most vulnerable people who live on it. Environmental justice.
Environmental justice is a concept grounded in the belief that all people, regardless of race, income, or background, should have the right to live in a healthy and safe environment. Yet, many communities, especially those historically marginalized, this is a far from reality. From pollution and climate change to resource extraction and land displacement, the environmental hazards we face today disproportionately impact the most vulnerable. It is an issue that transcends borders, affecting indigenous groups, low-income communities, and people of color in every corner of the globe. And as these communities bear the brunt of environment degradation, the fight for environmental justice has never been more urgent.
So let's talk about pollution and its disproportionate impact. I'm going to give you all a few examples. In the United States, the stark realities of environmental injustice are seen in the disproportionate exposure of low income communities and communities of color to pollution. These neighborhoods are often located near sources of industrial pollution, factories, waste dumps, power plants, and highways. In cities like Chicago and Detroit, poor air quality is linked to a wide range of health issues. Research has shown that black Americans, for example, are 75% more likely than Americans to live in areas with high levels of air pollution. This exposure contributes to higher rates of asthma, heart disease, and even development issues in children. In Chicago's South Side, an area predominantly home to black and Latino populations, residents live in close proximity to industrial zones where air quality is poor. The impact? Asthma rates in children are some of the highest in the nation. Similarly, in Flint, Michigan, residents, mainly black, were exposed to lead contaminated drinking water for years, a crisis that has been long lasting health and social consequences. These examples highlight a troubling pattern where marginalized communities pay the price for industrial practices that compromise with their health and safety.
So now we're going to talk about climate change. Climate change is another major driver of environmental injustice. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and shifting weather patterns hit the poorest communities in the hardest, often those where are least responsible for damage being done to the environment. Take, for example, the Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which devastated New Orleans. The storm affected people across cities. The worst hit areas were predominantly black and poor neighborhoods. The slow and inadequate recovery efforts left these communities stranded for weeks, highlighting deep systematic inequities in how aid and resources were distributed. In Puerto Rico, a US territory with a large Afro-Latino population, hurricanes like Maria in 2017 exposed not only the devastating physical damage caused by extreme weather, but also the socio-economic vulnerabilities that arise when communities are already under-resourced. The storm left much of the island without power for months, and recovery was hampered by delays, lack of infrastructure, and inadequate federal response, compounding the difficulty for already marginalized residents. On a global scale, low-lying islands such as Maldives and Kiribati are facing existential threats of rising sea levels. Entire communities whose ancestors have lived on these islands for centuries may be forced to relocate, losing their homes and their cultural identities. These nations have contributed very less to climate change, yet they are among the first to feel the impact. The disparity of this is a painful reminder of how climate change disproportionately affects the world's poorest and most vulnerable populations.
We will now be talking about resource extraction and land displacement. Environmental injustice is also deeply connected to the extraction of natural resources. In regions rich in resources like the Amazon rainforest and the Delta of Nigeria, indigenous and rural communities are bearing the brunt of ecological destruction, which is caused by logging, mining, and industrial agriculture. In Brazil, indigenous groups have long fought against deforestation, which is driven largely by illegal logging, land grabbing, and the expansion of agricultural operations. The Xingu River Basin, home to the Kayapo people, has witnessed the encroachment of illegal gold miners. Not only does this destruction impact local ecosystems, but it also displaces indigenous people from their ancestral lands, making it harder for them to maintain their traditional ways of life. The deforestation of the Amazon, which is accelerating under government policies that prioritize development over conservation, contributes to global climate change by reducing the planet's carbon sink. In the delta of Nigeria, oil extraction has led to several environmental damage, including water contamination and oil spills. These events have devastated the livelihoods of local fishing communities, most of whom are from minority ethnic groups. The Ogoni people, for example, have been actively protesting against the pollution caused by oil companies like Shell, but their efforts have often been met with violence and repression. The environmental degradation here has led to health crisis, with high rates of respiratory diseases and cancers that are all linked to oil contamination.
Now we're going to talk about the land and environmental rights of indigenous people. Indigenous peoples around the world continue to face environmental injustices tied to land rights. In the US, indigenous communities like the Navajo Nation have struggled with harmful legacy of mining, particularly uranium and coal extraction, which has left behind toxic waste and contaminated water supplies. The Navajo people have fought for years to clean up abandoned mines and hold corporations accountable for the damage done, but they often face a lack of government support and limited resources to deal with the fallout. Similarly, in Canada, Indigenous communities have fought for years to protect the lands from oil pipeline projects that threaten the environment and the traditional way of life. The Wet'suwet'en Nation in British Columbia, for instance, has led protests against construction for Coastal GasLink pipeline, which would traverse their unceded territory. Despite widespread opposition and legal challenges, the Canadian government and multinational corporations continue to push for projects that have little regard for the rights of Indigenous people and their health.
While all of these examples are stark, they are by no means isolated. In fact, environmental injustice is a global phenomenon that demands urgent action. The fight for environmental justice is not just about preserving ecosystems, it is about ensuring that all people, especially those who are most vulnerable, have a chance to live in a healthy environment. This fight requires holding corporations and governments accountable for the damage they cause. It means ensuring that those who are most affected by environmental degradation, whether through pollution, climate change, or resource extraction, are given the resources and support the need to recover and rebuild. It also calls for policy changes that prioritize the well being of marginalized communities, such as stricter environmental regulations, more inclusive decision making, and better access to clean air, water, and land. The battle for environmental justice is inseparable from the broader struggle for social equity. When we talk about environmental justice, we are not just talking about protecting the planet, we are talking about protecting the people, particularly the most vulnerable among us. It is about creating a world where the burden of environmental harm is not disproportionately carried by low income, indigenous, and racial minority communities.
As we confront the ongoing environmental crisis of our time, it is clear that the fight for environmental justice is a fight for human rights, equity, and dignity. Whether it's confronting pollution in urban neighborhoods, fighting against land disposition in the Amazon, or demanding for action on climate change, the path forward requires global solidarity, strong leadership, and commitment to ensuring that everyone has the right to a safe and sustainable future.
Back to you.
Rhea, see, this is not just about the planet, it's about also helping the people.
It's kind of hard to argue with
Exactly.
that. You're right.